Welcome to the 222 Paranormal Podcast, starring Jen and Joe.
Hello.
Hello, Joe.
How you doing, Jen? How was your week?
It was great. It was really great. It went by fast, and the weekend came, and I was ready for the weekend.
I want to apologize to you.
For what? What'd you do?
Yeah, my last 3 weeks have been hell. I got so sick, and I am so glad that we had some shows in the can ready to go because I was dead.
So are you feeling better?
Yeah, doctor got me on steroids. I'm all buff now. My voice is back, so we're ready to go.
Let's do it.
And today's show, we're going to talk about Cave in the Rock, okay? And it was really weird that 2 days later after I left the cave, boom, my sickness hit me.
So Cave in the Rock is in Cave in the Rock, Illinois. It is at the very southern tip of Illinois, right on the Ohio River.
It's a really cool place. I was surprised how small the town was.
I was too. Very small town, USA.
Very small town. I'm talking, what do you think, like a mile long or
If
something?
that.
Yeah, it was cool though.
Stoplight type town.
Definitely want to go back there and stay. At Cave in the Rock, Illinois, they have the state park where the cave's actually located, and they have the little cabins that you can stay in overlooking the Ohio River. It's really cool.
It was very beautiful. We got to see some barges going down the Ohio River. We got to see some people taking, ferries across the river to get into Kentucky.
Yeah, no bridge.
It's so cool.
Still by the ferry.
Very cool.
And, okay, so you're asking, well, why are you talking about a cave in a rock? Why is it a cave in the rock? But it's so interesting. You guys will be blown away by what we did and what we found out about the cave.
So Cave in the Rock is a haunted cave that was once used for some not so
and
legal
I would never
proceedings.
imagine, but there were pirates on the Ohio River.
Pirates.
Back in the day, they were pirates.
Arr. I don't think they were that kind of pirates.
No, these guys were definitely not that kind, but
Parrots and eye patches.
yeah, we're going to cover 3 of the main pirates, but I'm going to throw in one at the end just to let you know a really interesting story about it. But there were basically 3 major bands of pirates. Okay, you had the first gang that was there was the Wilson gang. Okay, and Jim Wilson brought his family to the cave. He was a pilot, I guess, on the riverboats, and as he was going down, there was a storm, and he saw the cave, and this thing is huge. I mean, it's a 50-foot cave, so you could see it from the river. So Jim Wilson brought his family to the cave, and believe it or not, turned it into a bar.
Wow.
He called it Wilson's Liquor Vault and House of Entertainment.
Oh, entertainment.
Yeah, I think about
what kind of entertainment?
Yeah, you think about this was like in 1717 or something like that. It was so long ago. A lot of people don't realize, that there were settlements going up and down the Ohio River on their way to the Mississippi, or Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio didn't even become a state until 1803, so that was
and
long before we were even incorporated.
They used the river as their roadways back then. Right. They had their flatboats. And like Jim Wilson, he would see the boats coming down the river and and there were signs on the side of the river that said liquor house and entertainment. So he turned this cave into a bar. And us being inside that cave, like I was telling you earlier, that, you look around the cave and it is huge. I mean, it's a big cave.
It
but
was.
Once you start putting your family in there, the other pirates in there, all the liquor, all these people coming. And what would happen was people would see that there's a bar, basically. They would stop their flatboats. Jim Wilson's gang would kill these people, take the boats. And this is a common thing through all these pirates on the river.
Right.
They would kill the people, take
Robbing
their boats.
and looting.
Yeah, you would never think that there were pirates on the Ohio River, but these guys were bad dudes. They killed the people, put their own men on the boats, took the boats to wherever they were going, sold the merchandise, got the money, brought the money back, and just did this endless circle.
And we don't even know how many countless people were murdered at this cave, do we?
And with the research I've been doing, I estimate, and I'm obviously you don't know an exact number, but they're talking like over 400 people were killed in this cave.
Wow.
Not counting and like the
recipe
second
for hauntings.
Yeah. Oh man. And when we were in there, just thinking that 400 people's blood soaked through that floor,
right.
The energy that was in there, and I'm telling you, you walk in this cave and you get chills.
Yeah, it was really interesting. First you have limestone, which is a great conductor for the paranormal. You have water, which is another great conductor. You have murder and unforeseen death. Perfect storm for a paranormal location.
There were prostitutes there.
Ladies of the night.
Oh, I'm sorry. There were entertainers
Hookers.
there. And that's one of the things, too, is, after Jim Wilson was killed, he was actually, and this is a common thread, he was killed by his own gang for the reward.
Wow.
Amazing. Good dudes. The second guy that came in, and he stopped in there before, and, who knows, maybe he was one of the ones that killed him.
Sure.
The second one was Samuel Mason, and this dude was bad. He was one of the generals in George Washington's army.
Wow.
So he was kind of used to killing or whatever, and he was also a slave hunter.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, and he did the same thing. He would put girls, there was like this little island, and I don't have it wrote down here, so I can't remember the name of it, but there's like a little island. He would put the girls on this island. The people coming up the river with their flatboats would see these girls, and they'd wave them down.
Like damsel in distress.
Exactly. And
it's the old bait and switch.
Yeah, these chicks would get on the boat, and it's just like when you're driving down the street and they get in your hoopty. These chicks would take you to the bar, and the gangs would kill the people, and same thing, steal their merchandise and steal their boats. And also one of the things that Mason was known for is there's a stretch of river where this channel goes through, and where we were at Hog Rock, it was right by that.
Okay.
And if you go on Facebook and you see me in my helicopter ride for the first time, I didn't even realize it, but I looked down at the river after doing this research. That's the channel that they're talking about.
Oh, okay.
What they would do is, that's a tough place to go through. So they would have these pilots come out and help the people take their boats through that canal.
Okay.
Well, Mason would put his own men out there as pilots to navigate the boats through the channel, and he would actually have these guys run into the sandbars and that, and
on
then
purpose.
The gang would kill them,
and steal their stuff.
They actually would take the people off the boats, bring them into the cave, and torture them and stuff.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and like I said, Mason was a slave hunter, and one of the big things that he's known for is he would find these slaves, hunt them down, the runaways, because you got to remember, Kentucky, Ohio.
Right.
They're on their way up
the Underground Railroad.
Yeah, so he would find these slaves, and instead of getting the reward, he would have fun with them by torturing them and killing them in the cave.
Oh, that's terrible.
So you think about the spirits that are in this cave, and the ghosts and spirits,
the trapped souls.
Yeah, because first off, they're running away from being slaves, trying to get freedom, and then they find this guy, and instead of this guy, it's a bad thing to take the slaves back to their plantations that they were on. This guy didn't do that. Instead, he tortured them and killed them in the cave.
Oh. For
and,
sport.
Yeah, for fun. And the same thing with all the other guys is Mason, there was a reward out for him,
okay,
dead or alive, and it was the same thing. His men, after a while, got tired of him and killed him for the $1,000 reward.
Wow. No loyalty amongst thieves.
Yeah, pirates we're the pirates of the Ohio River, but when we walked in that cave,
okay,
look it up online, folks. You'll see the pictures of the cave. It is big, and it is
ginormous.
if you're going down the Ohio River on your flatboat, you think, well, let's go check this cave out. And a lot of people just wanted to check it out and were killed.
You know, what's interesting too, as we were walking down the path to get there, there's a lot of like fractured rock. So there's a lot of little like nooks and crannies that you could get in if you wanted to hide or wanted to hide stuff, you know, your loot or whatever. So, you know, it's not like it's just one big giant open. There's several little spots that, you know, people could have been hiding or.
Yeah, like that one. If you're looking at the cave and you're facing the cave, looking at it, over to the left,
right,
you walk down the beach and there was like another little cave. And that was really cool because, it, like you said, it was a fracture. And it was big enough that you could fit stuff in. And I'm sure they did.
Never know.
You know?
So what was your first impression when you first started walking in the cave? Did you notice how the temperature immediately dropped?
Yeah. And I mean, you get that when you go into caves, obviously.
Right.
But it was more of an eerie feeling. And I don't know if it's because of the research that I did, and we talked about it before we actually went to the cave about all this stuff, and you know, but when I walked in, it's kind of weird. Okay, like I said, folks, you're gonna have to look it up online so you can see pictures of it. I took some photos, but they really didn't turn out that great. You know, we did a little video in there, and the unfortunate thing is our timeline changed and we couldn't make it there to where we could go in by ourselves. So there were a few people there and you could hear them talking in the distance and stuff.
It was a lot of echo inside of there.
Yeah.
You know, when somebody was standing at the mouth of the cave and we were in the rear of the cave, it was just like a symphony.
Yeah. To me, the cave almost looks like it was a volcanic eruption. Because if you notice, when you look online, you'll see the pictures of it. It's a funnel, and it's almost like the ground blasted out to make the cave.
Yeah, it's interesting.
You know, and that's what I wanted to research, but I couldn't really find stuff on it. And like I said, folks, I got so sick. I mean, 2 days after we left the cave, it hit me. And I went to the doctor, and the student doctor said that it might have been cave fungus. He says a lot of people down south, they get that where they breathe in something, but who knows? You know, and as bad a place as it is, I mean, there were, like I said, we walked in, and the eerie feeling that you get just by looking at the cave and looking around, maybe I got attached. I don't know.
You don't know. It could have drained your energy, weakened your immune system, and then you caught something. It's very well could happen. My thing, when I first walked in there, it was very slippery. The rock was very smooth, and water was dripping, you know, through the rock. You could hear the water echoing as it dripped. And you have to be careful when you're going into some of these locations. You know, it's very dangerous. You could have slipped, cracked your head open, you know. It was very muddy too, so don't wear your nice shoes.
Yeah, and that goes back to like we talked on the last show.
Right. Know
your surroundings, know what you're going into. Wear appropriate clothing for that.
Right.
Take extra shoes. Take extra clothing.
Jackets going into, you know, underground location. It was cold.
Yeah.
Cold enough to store some beer.
About 90
some ale.
90 degrees outside, and we walked in, and like I said, instant chill. And with
40-degree temperature drop instantly.
I've been in a lot of caves, you know. And the temperature change doesn't change that fast, especially for a 55-foot tall, wide open cave like this. And another thing that I noticed too, it's weird because did you notice the path walking in was almost like they cut it out?
Yeah, that was very interesting.
Because the rocks on either side of us at the beginning were about 13 foot to 15 foot, and then as you go in, obviously they go down. But one thing that I thought about too is, you know, reading all this research on it, we're going into this cave, and sure, it's a big cave, but like I said, once you start putting all your people in there, your gear, all that.
I'm sure they had animals too, chickens, goats, you know.
You know, and I thought maybe, well, they just used the cave for that, and their houses were other places, but no, they said that they actually lived in the cave.
Very interesting.
And it's soaking wet, dirty, filthy, dripping with water constantly, and this was a 90-degree day that there hasn't been. We went on the weekend where there hasn't been a lot of rain for a long time.
Right.
So that's the main thing that I thought about too is, you know, I was standing in there.
Yeah.
In my mind's eye, I could see these people in there.
Yeah.
and see the pirates in there and see their bunks and seeing that, and how did they stay clean? How did they stay dry? But I guess maybe they just didn't care.
Maybe not. That was.
I mean, at the cave, they have a picture of Mason, and this dude, I mean, okay, I think Bigfoot would run from him.
I agree.
The way that his hair in the picture looked and everything. I mean,
he looked like wild beast man.
Yeah. And they said that he was like 6 foot tall.
Oh, wow.
So he was a
It's
big
pretty
dude.
tall for back then.
Yeah, he was a big dude, and maybe he's Bigfoot.
Maybe he is.
Maybe his spirit came back as Bigfoot because he looks like him.
Probably smelled like him too.
Oh, I can imagine.
So one of the interesting things.
No jupe in the cave.
No jupe. We are anti-jupe.
Okay, but go ahead.
Anyways, sorry. We get off topic a little bit. My least favorite cologne in the world is jupe. Blech. Anyways, okay. So when we walked in, we go through to where it opens up. To the right was another, like just a section of the cave. And you walk in there, and I'm not kidding, 4 or 5 steps in, and you're in pitch darkness. It was pretty scary. I was in there. I did some recording with my digital recorder. Didn't capture anything because there were so many people in and out of there, so it was hard to distinguish if I captured anything or if it was just background noise or echoes. But when I walked in there, it's to the right, and then I turned right again, and about maybe 6 steps in, you're in complete darkness. Even though the sun's coming through, there's a hole at the top of the cave where the sun shines in. It was pretty scary. I felt a little freaked out. I felt uncomfortable. I felt like somebody was standing next to me. Somebody was watching me. I wanted out of there.
I think that there are tons of spirits in there.
I definitely
really
felt them.
do. And because, like I said, they know of, I'm sure my number's wrong, but 400 people in the cave died.
Wow.
That's not saying all the people around it. Mm-hmm. Because they actually, what they did was they would actually kill the people, cut them open, put the rocks inside their bodies, and dump them into the river. So out in front of the cave, too, I'm sure the sediment has covered them all, but that's where they dumped the bodies.
Wow. And weren't you telling me something about a horse?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to talk to the next group after, Mason was killed. Mm-hmm. The next group that came in were the Harp brothers.
Oh, boy.
And these dudes, they're the kind of dudes that you don't want to meet in church. I mean, you say, well, I don't want to meet these dudes in a bar. The bar is nothing to these people.
All right.
I mean, these dudes were bad dudes. And it's funny because they brought their whole family. And not their kids. They brought their wives and everything,
The whole extended family.
Yeah, they brought their family. But these dudes were bad. These were the kind of people. And, back then there was no law or nothing. These guys killed for fun. Basically, just for fun. Yeah.
Wow.
And there was Big Harp and Little Harp.
Okay.
Okay. And yeah, there was times where they actually would go out, get these people off the boats, kill them for fun,
Mm-hmm.
And these guys were more of a sport killer.
Okay.
One of the things that they would do is, they had their whole gang there. Mm-hmm. And as you can remember, you could walk up at the top of the cave and look over. Mm-hmm. They would take these people and yell down at the people in the cave and start throwing these people off the cliff.
Oh, my word.
Just for fun.
And crazy.
And they traveled all over doing this. The Hart brothers were like bad dudes. These dudes, they would walk up to you and laugh at you and just cut you.
Yeah.
Well, one of the time, and they went out to the ship or this flatboat. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's back then they all had flatboats, and they killed everybody on the flatboat, stole their stuff, but they left one guy living, and they took him back, blindfolded him, took him up to the top of the bluff. It was a 150-foot bluff.
Okay.
Tied him to a horse, spooked the horse so the horse ran off the cliff.
Oh, my gosh. With this guy?
With the guy tied to the horse. So That's the kind of people that were there. But, like I said, man, we we walked in that cave, and you can tell it's haunted. And we were just talking before the show that we're going to go back.
Yes.
And we're going to do a proper investigation on a weekday where, you know, it's a park, you know, so it's a state park, and you can go there and just check out the cave. It is so cool. It's worth the drive to see the history. But I want to throw one more person in here.
Okay.
There was a guy named James Ford. Okay. And I didn't really put him in the list here because, you know, like I said, the Harps were last people that they know of to be pirates at the cave. But there was a guy named James Ford. Okay. He was a slave hunter.
Okay.
And one of the interesting stories about him was one of the slaves, I don't know if it was voodoo or whatever, but they said that one of the slaves that he killed said that you will be haunted forever.
Oh.
Okay. And put a curse on him. Okay. So a few years went by after that and nothing really happened. And one day he met up with some Indians. And, you know,
Native Americans.
Yes. Okay. Some local people that lived there. He went in and ransacked their camp and, you know, blah, 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 pirate stuff. Probably killed a few of them. Well, they put a curse on him also and said that he will spend eternity on his head.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay. And, you know, like I said, he was a slave hunter. So eventually somebody killed him. And it was interesting because they walked into his cabin and handed him a candle to read a letter that someone wrote.
Okay.
By handing him the candle, signaled to the people outside who he was.
Ah.
And 17 bullets later,
oh my goodness,
he was dead.
Wow.
Okay. So they shot, it was like a signal. This is me. Hi, I'm James Ford. And they shot him.
Wow.
Okay. So they shot him. They had the funeral. During the funeral, it was one of the storms we get, you know, in the Ohio Valley. And it was a torrential storm. And they had the slaves carrying the casket to his gravesite.
Okay.
As they were getting to the gravesite, lightning struck right next to him.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay. And this is stuff that I've read in the book and our research, but it was so funny because the slaves freaked out, which I would, because, you know, lightning struck right by them.
Oh, my goodness.
They dropped the casket head first into the hole.
Oh, my goodness.
And it got wedged. And it was a torrential downpour. So you had, you know, back then you didn't have the fancy funerals like they do now. And the water was going in the hole. It was like a flood. So they just ended up burying him, put the dirt over the casket, feet up, head down. He's still spending eternity on his head.
Oh my gosh.
That was the coolest
story.
That is
so amazing.
Yeah, it was the coolest story. And so I did some research and I tried to find his grave and I had no luck. I couldn't find it. There's so many James Fords in that area and I just kind of gave up. Okay. But a lot of research that I did, I found it in a book. What's the author's name?
The author's name is Otto Rothert, Rothert, and the book is called The Outlaws of Cave and Rock.
It's a great book. I mean, I read slow, so it's hard for me to read it. How many pages long is that thing?
Oh my gosh. Couldn't even tell you. 300 and something. But anyways, yeah, so he definitely has all the information about Mason and the Liquor Vault and House of Entertainment.
And it's a lot of information. I mean, I got halfway through the book and I was blown away about how much information. It's such an interesting story.
Very interesting.
Who would ever think that there were pirates on the Ohio River?
And they say that there's some legend that there is gold buried along the Ohio River. Pirate gold.
Really?
Yes. Yep.
And could it be right there?
It could be. I should have brought my metal detector.
Yeah.
Well, I had it, but I didn't bring it down there because we had to hike in.
It was like a 20-step.
I know, but...
then, yeah, okay. So, anyhow.
I don't like to hike. I'm chunky.
That's part of it. Part of the fun.
Part of the fun.
Part of the fun.
So anyways, we did use our digital recorder. We did make a little video. We didn't capture anything evidence. We took photographs. Didn't have any orbs, nothing in there. But, our best tool is our senses. And definitely felt something very odd about that place. Yeah.
If you guys, I'm telling you, it's a long drive.
It is long.
It's way down at the bottom.
Very tip of southern Illinois.
Yeah, but it's worth the drive.
It was beautiful. That whole area. Everything was just very clean and just nice. And, you're close to, not far from Louisville, which Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is there, which is on our bucket list.
Yes, it is. So we just wanted to go over Cave in the Rock. It was such a cool place. And I know that we had a show last week, but luckily it was a show that we had recorded already because I was dog sick.
He was on death's door.
True. I'm telling you, I don't get sick ever.
You don't.
And it hit me bad. So anyhow, thank God we had a show recorded, or else we would have missed one for you guys. And we don't want to do that. We want to be consistent. And, anything else you can think of, Jen?
No, let's wrap it up for today.
All right. Let's, like I said, check us out on Facebook. The web page is up.
It is.
It's not complete yet. We're working on it. The video that we took in the cave, I'm going to post on our Facebook page. Yes. I'm going to put that on the Facebook page, a link through YouTube. So check us out there. Yep. And I want to thank everybody for listening today. Yep. And we'll talk to you next week. Yep. But remember, folks, please leave us a positive rating and review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from.
Yep. And check us out, www.222paranormalpodcast.com.